Hey, Facebook friends, I just thought I'd take a minute here. I just had to record this because something really interesting is happening. And I know I've posted a couple things about earthquakes and trends that are going on recently that are strange on Earth. I'll talk a little bit more, maybe, if I have time, about some of the things that are really interesting that are going on with the climate of our little blue ball here. But right now, you're about to see something that I think is going to hit the news, and so I just had to take a second to talk about that. What we're looking at here is the wind current. That's what the little blowing lines are, and wind speeds that are pushing. And over here is the United States. You can see how crazy warm it is in the southeast, but that wind is pushing over. But just to give you an example of this abnormally warm area, also you notice the green circle up here. It's a little tricky today. I don't know why it's not working very well, but if you click on the map, you get the temperature at that spot, 3.4 degrees Celsius. If you remember, 0 Celsius is 32 degrees or freezing in Fahrenheit. So 3.4 right here converts to 38 degrees. It's 38 degrees that far north. Let's go back over here, and again, if I wiggle the map around, you can see where the North Pole is right up there, right? A little cross. That's not far from the North Pole, and it's not even freezing. This is the fourth time this year, this winter, I should say, that temperatures are getting above freezing at the North Pole. That's not even what I'm talking to you about here, though, and the reason I'm recording this. This little thing here, if you see this little circle, this is like a hurricane. I mean, really like a hurricane. And it's pulling air. Look at how warm. It's kind of red here. This is Africa. It's pulling air all the way from Africa. That's Iceland. This is Greenland. And it's pulling that air all the way up here. This hurricane, is what I'm calling it, 90 mile an hour winds, high density air, and so forth. So it's like a hurricane is moving north. When I first started seeing this, it was way down here in the Atlantic. It's pushed way up here now. And what that's going to do, and I'm going to show you some more here in just a minute. I'll move up to the jet stream so you can really, in fact, let me do that now. If I go over here to my settings, I'm going to go up like jet stream height, and we'll look at the wind. Let's see if this particular tool is kind of slow today, but all right, look at this. It's just incredible. So here comes across the United States. That's Florida right here. And we have this giant circulation that's coming way down around the equator in South America. And it's pulling over, it's crossing Florida. And then what happens? It gets sucked across this vortex and loops right up to the North Pole. That's just crazy. And I don't have my temperature on, so you can't see the temperature where the dot is. But it's the same as we saw a moment ago, so just above freezing right now. But that's going to be going up. Here's a little, what I'm calling a hurricane friend here. And it's this high pressure zone that's sucking this air right around. Instead of going back down over Africa, it's just getting blown. And then look what happens. It goes over right at the North Pole, circulates back around, and dips down in the jet stream to Canada. So we've got warmer air. I mean, it's not the freezing, stagnant, cold air over the North Pole it usually is with the jet stream going around the North Pole. It's crossing right over the warm air, the North Pole, and coming right down through Canada and back into the northern U.S. Very strange pattern, and it's probably why we're seeing snow in the U.S., northern U.S. right now. But, all right, so that's what's going on with the wind. What this is, let me see, I think I've got something here. All right, look at this. That looks like a hurricane, doesn't it? Look at the warm air it's pulling in. It's just pulling this warm air in. This is Greenland up here. This is Iceland. This is not accurate. It's currently way on up higher, but it's moving really fast. This system, they're predicting, is going to increase the temperature at the North Pole between 40 and 60 degrees. It's going to be, light jacket weather at the North Pole. Again, fourth time this year that the North Pole has gone, this winter, that the North Pole has gone above freezing. That's nuts. And I know there are those among us who have kind of bought into this idea that man-made CO2 is causing this kind of chaos, but there is just no way that CO2 has, especially man-made CO2, is causing this kind of thing. I can tell you that what I've learned is our planet has recently, it's always moving through space. So our sun, our entire solar system is moving very fast through space, circling our galaxy. So things are always changing. We have been hit, and our solar system is moving through a very high density of helium-3. The helium we put in balloons is helium-4. Helium-3 is extremely rare on Earth, but it's been coming in really fast. Also, if you've noticed the asteroids, I think I posted something about the near-Earth objects recently. We're going through a debris field. Our sun is reacting. We are seeing solar winds incredibly high, incredibly dense. And I happen to believe there's a lot of scientists as well that believe that that's what's kind of setting off our earthquakes. It's just incredible. For generations we have been the one thing we felt we could rely on is Earth. Even though we go to school and we hear about mountains being formed and how all this dramatic, huge change occurs, it hasn't happened in so long, nothing dramatic, that we feel like we can really count on Earth. Well, folks, I can't tell you why the mountains were formed or what was going on when that happened, but something is really affecting our planet this year. Let's see if I got anything else to show you. No, I think that's pretty much it. I think I had, here, if I scroll up, this is the Weather Channel. You can actually see, they've got, look at that, looks like a hurricane, right? Snowy hurricane. That's warm water. Oh, there's one other thing I can show you. When we talk about the North Pole melting and earthquakes, again, getting away from CO2, trying to find another explanation and something plausible. Scientists recently, I guess it started up here. You got to really spin. North Pole is right over here at the very, very top of my screen. This is a supervolcano off of, I guess you'd call that off the coast of Russia. And this is the Mid-Atlantic Rift. So Earth is pulling apart at this seam right here, very slowly, about the rate of your fingernails growing. This area right here was assumed to be, and this is under the polar ice cap and all that stuff, to be a dormant volcano chain, mountain range for hundreds of years. But there was a group up here that was looking for oil. And when the Arctic ice cap melted for the summer, they were dredging or dragging these submersibles along, and they almost melted. It turns out this is an active volcano chain. That's new. Then they came down here. I'm going to spin it around so we're right side up according to the U.S. There's Greenland, and they were off of the coast over here. And they started finding things that only live around the equator in the water, little microbes and buggies and things. And so with a little more research, well, that right there, if we zoom in, you can see it looks like a volcano. Apparently there's an active volcano or eruption zone in here. Then they found that down here in this little elbow, that's an active volcano chain. So we've got active volcano chains here, something around here. I don't know if that's just a hydrothermic vent or actual volcano. There may not be magma involved, in other words. And then active volcano chain and hyperthermic vent activity way up here. You take that and you go back over here to this fella, and you can clearly see, in fact, even though I think it's gone a little bit dormant now, if I change my settings and I go back to surface air and look at temp. All right, so here, now you can see warm around the equator, but look at the warmth. And yeah, it's pulling up right now. But even when it's not, I believe that the currents, this part here is normal. This should be a lot colder. But it's pulling the air up here. It's hitting that active volcano chain. There's Iceland right here. And giving us warmth. I've seen warmth stretching all the way up toward the north end of that point. So, and at Christmas, this was not pink. The North Pole itself was actually light blue. The only dark red was over here in Siberia and a little bit over in Canada here. So, very interesting year. Anyway, I don't know. I'm going to keep this thing to 10 minutes, but I just wanted to kind of share a little bit about what's going on and show you some data. This is going to be an interesting year weather-wise, and I know we've all probably noticed it in one way or another already, But anyway, stay tuned. If I see something else interesting, or you see this in the news, they're going to come at you and say, "Well, it's global warming because of CO2." Like this, it can't work that way. I have learned too much about this, and I can assure you, this is way more dramatic than even hitting a trigger point with CO2 would cause. It's just a very cool thing that's happening as we move through space. But anyway, okay, wait. I knew there was something else I wanted to show you while I'm looking at Earth science stuff, because I thought this was really interesting, almost in a spooky kind of way, but I don't want to record something else, and this is something that you just got to see. I don't want to just share a link. You might have heard about the birds in Houston. I'll play this video, but what's happening, and the other thing in Earth science, is that our magnetosphere, or the magnetic shield around our planet, is extremely low right now. It's not as powerful as it usually is, and we're seeing lots of different magnetic kind of changes. You might have heard in the news about a potential pole shift that's happening on Earth, and this is something else that's playing into what's going on with our weather for sure. But birds use this to get their bearings and so forth. So you got to watch this video. This happened in Houston, and I thought it was really interesting. I'm not going to turn up the sound. It's just a car driving with birds in the background. But look at that. They don't know what to do. They're all confused, flying every different direction. And then, look at these guys. They just get so confused they start landing. This is the same place in Houston. But look at them on the power lines. They don't know what to do. And so they had to wait out this magnetic storm before they could even take off and know where to fly anymore. But anyway, I'm not. I just thought that was like really, really something to see. So I thought I'd share that. This happened, I'm going to say a week or two ago. So not that long ago. But our magnetosphere is weak. The sun is at its minimum. The sun is changing, and we got these coronal holes that are firing off. We've got helium-3 coming in from space and asteroids. It's some sort of a debris field, and I don't know. Who knows? Maybe, a million years ago, a planet blew up in this part of space where we're going through now, and we're catching the remnants or something. I don't know. But anyway, weird stuff. So have a great afternoon or evening.